Hey everybody, it's Sam. This is my response for Module 1. Sorry it took me a little bit longer to do this. I was really sick this past week and didn't feel well, so decided just to wait on doing my video. And since there was some issues with this module, the videos that I watched are actually the response videos from Jeremy and Timothy, so I'll just respond to those since I wasn't able to see the initial videos in the module. So here it goes. First, to start off with, Jeremy and you responded to Tamara's video, and you talked about how there's a difference between diversity and social justice. And one thing I had thought was interesting before in the readings was that it talked about there was a difference between, I think it was underrepresented and diversity, and I think that's definitely a key point of these readings when we're looking at whether it's race, sexual orientation, gender, so forth on. But you did say that was uncomfortable topics, and that's one thing I actually am looking forward to in this class because I'm able to hear people's stories and understand. White female, grew up in primarily predominant white environment, and so I really don't have that understanding of other people and their identities. And I enjoy sharing my story as well and learning about everyone in the class. We have such a small class, so I think we're going to be able to connect and have a little bit more discussion on that, and I think that's really great. You also pointed out that the track team has recently been cut from UNCW, and that attracts African American students, and that's probably true when it comes to attracting African Americans. And so if that's the case, what are other factors and how do you attract and cater to those students if you're cutting out a program that did attract them there initially, and also how do you keep them after cutting that program? Then you point out that everyone receives some kind of privilege based on one or more of your identities, and I think that's a great point. I know we read a lot about white privilege, and that's in our next module. And but you can have more privilege based off of different identities that you have. You also pointed out that privilege is not only based on race, even though that's what we hear a lot about. Another example you used was culture. One thing I thought was interesting, that professor grades students differently, and that makes them not equal. And I think that's something that we are coming across as an issue in higher education. So maybe try to even out the playing field so that it's more equal to all students. And moving on to Timothy's video, he responded to Teddy, and Teddy had described social justice as helping people, giving equal treatment and equal distribution. And I like the way the equal distribution part, it also kind of goes back to what Jeremy said about professors grading students differently. And sometimes we don't even know that we're giving preferential treatment to certain people, but we do need to understand and be more aware of our surroundings and how we act towards different people. And one thing that was pointed out was enriching ourselves to fix these problems. And I think just the more you know and the more you're aware will help with these situations. And sometimes it is an automatic separation, as pointed out in the video. And the main thing that I really, really liked was the difference between characteristics and habits. Characteristics describe someone, and the habit is something that you do constantly. So characteristics might be harder to change, but the habit, we can definitely work on our habits and try to better ourselves. So that's what I have for those two videos. I thought it was very interesting. And I also look forward to hearing more of everybody's stories and doing fun activities in this class. So this concludes my response video to Module 1. Have a good night. Bye.